replacing her sister to marry a powerful CEO. She thought she would be hated, but unexpectedly he doted on her. Hello, everyone. Step closer into Claire Bennett's world, right at the moment it begins to collapse. 3 days before the wedding, Claire stood in the Bennett's living room holding Emily's shaky handwritten note. Claire, please take my place. I can't do it. The words blurred as she reread them again and again, her fingers cold despite the warm summer air. Her mother paced anxiously. We can't let the Cole family know Emily is gone. Do you understand what this means for all of us? Her father's voice was firmer, almost pleading. Claire, you look just like her. No one will notice, not at first. We just need you to get through the ceremony. Claire felt her throat tighten. Dad, I can't pretend to be Emily. This isn't some small lie. This is marriage. His shoulders sagged. If we break this alliance, the Bennetts won't survive the fallout. We're asking you because you're the only one who can do this. The room fell silent. Claire knew then she wasn't being asked. She was being pushed into place, like a chess piece that never had a say. Still, she nodded, even though every instinct screamed no. On the wedding day at Long Island Garden Estate, Claire sat alone in the bridal dressing room. Makeup artists had left, stylists had rushed off, and only the quiet hum of the air conditioner remained. Her reflection stared back at her, a flawless bride in a delicate lace gown, hair pinned with pearls, lips painted a soft blush. But her eyes empty, as if the soul behind them had stepped out. She raised a hand to the mirror, touching her own reflection. Emily should be here, she whispered. Not me. A bridesmaid knocked lightly. It's time, Claire. As she walked down the long marble hallway toward the garden aisle, every step felt borrowed. The murmur of guests blurred. The scent of roses faded into the background. All she felt was the tight pull in her chest. At the altar, Michael Cole turned to face her. For a heartbeat, Claire saw the exact moment he realized she wasn't Emily. His eyes sharpened, quiet, assessing, but there was no outrage, no accusation. He extended his hand to her. Shall we? She placed her trembling fingers into his palm. The night had ended with more questions than answers, and as morning light filtered softly through the curtains, Claire opened her eyes to unfamiliar calm. She needed a moment to remember where she was. Michael's mansion, not her small room back home. A separate bedroom, spacious and quiet, prepared specifically for her. The sheets smelled of lavender, the air felt warm, and yet Claire's chest still carried yesterday's heaviness. She sat up slowly, brushing her hair back as she remembered Michael's voice from last night. Gentle, unexpected, disarming. It lingered in her mind longer than she wanted it to. A soft knock came. Breakfast is ready, one of the house staff said. Mr. Cole is waiting. Claire hesitated before leaving the room. She still wasn't sure how to behave in this new reality. Married, but not truly a wife. Present, but not fully belonging. When she entered the sunlit dining room, Michael was already seated. He stood when he saw her, pulling out a chair with quiet courtesy. On the table were several plates, soft scrambled eggs, fruit salad, toasted brioche, foods she genuinely enjoyed, though she had never mentioned them. She stared, caught off guard. You didn't have to prepare all this. I wanted you to have something you actually like, Michael replied, his tone steady as he poured her a cup of coffee. And you don't need to skip meals or pretend you're not hungry. You don't have to adjust yourself because of me. Claire felt a subtle warmth in her chest. She lifted the coffee cup, noticing that he had added exactly 1 spoon of sugar, how she always preferred it. How do you? He only smiled faintly. Just eat. In the days that followed, their lives settled into a quiet rhythm. Michael never crossed boundaries. He never touched her without permission, never entered her room, never demanded anything beyond presence at shared meals. His restraint, strangely, made the mansion feel less intimidating. But Claire couldn't ignore the way he observed her, not intrusively, but with a quiet attentiveness. He noticed how she always paused before sipping hot coffee, how she tucked her hair behind her ear when she grew anxious, how she preferred sitting by the window even when the sunlight was weak. He never commented on these things, yet she could sense the awareness in his eyes. One evening, she caught him watching her with an expression she couldn't interpret, part curiosity, part warmth. She looked away quickly, reminding herself that this wasn't real. This wasn't her marriage. She was standing in for Emily. Nothing more. But each day Michael's quiet kindness made that belief harder to hold on to. A full week passed in a strange, delicate peace. Quiet mornings, shared meals, soft conversations that never went too deep. Claire was just beginning to breathe more naturally in this new life when her phone buzzed with a call she hadn't expected. Emily. Claire stepped onto the balcony, clutching the phone tightly. Emily? Where are you? Do you know what you've done? I don't have time. Emily whispered, voice urgent. Just answer me. Did he find out you're not me? Did Michael say anything? Claire froze. Is that all you're calling for? So he didn't notice. Emily exhaled in relief. Good. Just keep going a little longer. I'll explain later, I promise. The call ended as quickly as it came, leaving Claire with more confusion and a familiar ache twisting inside her. When she returned inside, Michael was standing near the staircase, studying her with quiet concern. Your expression, it looks heavy, he said softly. Come with me. You need some air. They drove in silence until the greenery of Central Park opened around them. Claire sat on a bench, the soft breeze brushing against her hair. Michael stood a step away, giving her space, watching her without intruding. After a moment, he sat beside her. Claire, he began, voice steady. There's something I want to be honest about. Before the wedding, I thought I liked Emily. I really did. He shook his head lightly. But when I saw you walking toward me that day, I realized I had mistaken the feeling. It wasn't her. Claire blinked, startled. Why are you telling me this? Because, he said gently, I had seen you before. Many times. She turned toward him, heart thudding. Before the wedding? Michael nodded. 5 different charity events. Twice at the mall on Fifth Avenue. And once at that art auction last winter. A faint warmth softened his features. You always stood quietly at the side. But I noticed you every single time. Claire's breath caught. The thought that he had seen her, recognized her, even before any of this, felt unreal. Later that evening, back at the mansion, Claire entered the study to return a book she had borrowed. While searching for its place on the shelf, she accidentally nudged a small wooden box, sending it sliding open. Inside were photographs of her. Claire at events, Claire mid-step crossing a street, Claire smiling faintly at a painting. Along with the photos were handwritten notes. Likes mild coffee. Allergic to shellfish. Touches left ear when nervous. Her heart pounded, overwhelmed by the quiet truth spreading before her. Michael had been watching her long before she ever stepped into his life. When she looked up, he was standing at the doorway, expression unreadable. A long, deep silence stretched between them, filled with something fragile, new, and undeniably mutual. For the first time since the wedding, Claire felt her heart move toward him instead of away. The shift between quiet domestic days and the glittering world of the elite came faster than Claire expected. Michael approached her that afternoon with a neatly pressed suit already waiting on the bed and a soft expression in his eyes. There's a charity gala tonight at the Manhattan Grand Hotel, he said. I'd like you to come with me. Claire hesitated. Crowds, lights, cameras, it wasn't her world. But Michael's voice held no pressure, only invitation. So she nodded. Hours later, when they stepped into the hall filled with crystal chandeliers and polished marble, Claire felt every pair of eyes drifting toward them. Michael noticed her stiff posture and gently took her hand, threading his fingers through hers, grounding her. She's beautiful, someone whispered nearby. I heard she's not the original bride, another murmured. Before Claire could shrink away, Michael squeezed her hand, his voice calm but firm. Ignore them. You're with me. But the truth was, Claire felt out of place. The women wore gowns that shimmered like galaxies. The men moved with an ease that came from being born into high society. Claire, despite looking elegant, felt like she was wearing borrowed skin. She smiled when spoken to, nodded politely, but her heart kept pounding as if trying to escape her chest. After half an hour, she slipped out onto the balcony to breathe. Cool air brushed against her face, and she rested her hands on the railing to steady herself. Then a familiar voice cut through the quiet. Well, Claire Bennett. Wearing my dress, standing in my place, and now enjoying my life. Claire turned sharply. Emily. Her sister stepped out from the shadows, lips curled in a cold smile. Emily. Claire's voice tightened. Why are you here? Emily laughed softly, bitterly. I came to see how well you're pretending. And look at you, you fit right in. Michael holding your hand like you're precious. Do you enjoy taking what was supposed to be mine? Claire didn't back away this time. I didn't take anything. You left, Emily. You walked away and asked me to fix it. Emily's smile faltered, annoyance flashing in her eyes. Don't act self-righteous. Michael would have never looked at you if not for. What exactly? Claire cut her off, voice steady. That you disappeared? Or that he finally saw me? A tense silence fell. Footsteps approached from behind, calm and unhurried. Michael stepped onto the balcony, gaze cool as it landed on Emily. Emily, he said, voice firm but polite. I should thank you. Emily blinked. What? Thank you for not showing up to the wedding. His tone sharpened, unapologetic. Because of that, I married the right woman. Emily's face drained of color, humiliation washing over her. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. Claire stood tall beside Michael, the weight inside her chest unexpectedly lighter, maybe for the first time. The tension from the balcony encounter had barely settled when Michael gently placed a hand on Claire's back. Come, he murmured, guiding her toward the warm lights inside. She followed him through the tall glass doors, still feeling the echo of Emily's bitter words in her chest. But the moment they re-entered the ballroom, another woman stepped directly into their path. Tall, elegant, dressed in champagne silk, she smiled with a polished sweetness that didn't reach her eyes. Michael, she greeted smoothly, completely ignoring Claire at his side. It's been a long time. Claire noticed how Sierra Monroe positioned herself, one step closer to Michael than necessary, chin tilted slightly, as if she still held a place in his world. I didn't expect to see you here, Sierra continued, voice dripping with familiarity. Remember that winter gala? You said. Michael cut her off without hesitation. I don't remember. His tone was clipped, final. Then he turned slightly, placing a hand at Claire's waist, drawing her subtly closer. And before you continue, let me introduce my wife. Claire. The word wife landed like a quiet declaration that carried across the noise of the ballroom. Sierra's smile faltered for a half-second before she recovered. Oh, of course. She finally looked at Claire, offering a polite but hollow greeting. Lovely to meet you. Claire nodded, but her fingers curled slightly in Michael's sleeve, the earlier unrest inside her beginning to stir again. Sierra lingered for another moment, too long, before excusing herself with a tight smile. As soon as she walked away, Claire exhaled softly, not realizing how tense she had been. Michael glanced down at her. Are you all right? I'm fine, she lied. But she wasn't. Even on the ride home, Sierra's presence kept replaying in her mind. The ease with which she approached Michael. The way she spoke as if she knew a version of him Claire didn't. Every thought nudged her chest uncomfortably, and despite trying to swallow it down, the words slipped out before she could stop herself. Did you like Sierra? She asked quietly. Michael didn't answer immediately. Instead, he steered the car toward the side of the road, bringing it to a slow stop beneath a row of streetlights. The interior fell into a warm hush. He turned to her, expression steady, unwavering. Claire, he said softly, I've met many people, including Sierra, but no one has ever stood where you're standing right now. Her breath hitched. No one has ever mattered the way you do, he continued. No one compares to you. The sincerity in his voice washed over her like a slow, grounding tide. Quiet, certain, impossible to doubt. And sitting there in the parked car, the city lights glowing faintly beyond the windshield, Claire felt her heart lean toward him more boldly than ever before. The calm between Claire and Michael shattered the next morning. Headlines exploded across every major news site. Bold fonts, red banners, flashing alerts. The Cole family's bride switch scandal. CEO married a substitute. Claire Bennett isn't the original fiancée, insider claims. Within hours, Cole Group's stock dipped 5%. Comment sections surged with accusations, speculation, and endless scrutiny. Cameras lined the gates of the mansion. Reporters shouted questions from beyond the iron fence. When Claire saw the first headline, her blood ran cold. The phone slipped from her trembling fingers, hitting the hardwood floor with a sharp crack. So it's happening, she whispered. It finally happened. Her entire body felt hollow, as if everything she had feared since the wedding day had risen to swallow her whole. Before she could collapse under the weight of panic, Michael reached her, catching her hands. Claire, look at me. But she couldn't. Her breath was tight, uneven, her vision blurring at the edges. Claire, look at me, he repeated, firmer now. The only thing I'm afraid of is losing you. Everything else, rumors, stock prices, the press, I don't care. His voice steadied her enough to breathe again, though fear still clawed at her ribs. Hours later, Michael was summoned to the Cole patriarch's estate. William Cole, his grandfather, the man who built the empire Michael now led, stood before him with the same unyielding authority that had shaped generations. Fix this scandal immediately, William demanded. Start by divorcing her. Michael didn't hesitate. I won't divorce her. You married a substitute, William snapped. Your judgment is compromised. End it. If you can't accept Claire, Michael said, his voice as flat as steel, then banish me from the family. The room fell into a heavy, stunned silence. William stared at him for a long time, eyes clouded with conflict. At last, he sank back into his chair with a long, exhausted sigh. Do whatever you think you must, and clean up the mess you made. When Michael returned home and told Claire, she could only stare at him, stunned that he had chosen her so fiercely. They investigated the source of the leak together, cross-checking emails, tracking back inside her accounts, until the truth surfaced like a cruel betrayal. The information came from Emily, and from their parents. They wanted to correct the marriage, to force Michael to send Claire away. Claire felt something in her chest break quietly. Michael took her hand. You're not alone in this. We face it together. And he meant it. 2 days later, Michael brought Claire to the Cole family residence, and then stood before hundreds of cameras at a formal press conference. Reporters surged forward as he stepped to the podium, Claire by his side. My wife, Michael said, voice unwavering, is not a stand-in. She has never replaced anyone. The woman I wanted, from the beginning, is Claire Bennett. A wave of flashes burst through the hall. Whispers rippled. William Cole watched from the front row, expression unreadable. But when Michael finished, the old man finally nodded, a slow, reluctant acceptance. It wasn't approval, but it was recognition. And for Claire, that was enough. For the first time since the wedding, Claire felt the weight lift from her shoulders. No more pretending. No more shadows. No more feeling like she lived in someone else's life. She was Claire Bennett, Michael's chosen wife, not a replacement for anyone. With the chaos settled, Michael suggested they leave New York for a while. Just us, he said. Away from noise, drama, all of it. They traveled down the coast, drifting through small seaside towns and staying in luxurious cliffside resorts. The days were slow and intimate. Morning walks along the shoreline, lingering breakfasts, stolen kisses under sun-warmed sheets. Michael was different here, softer, more playful, less consumed by responsibilities. And Claire, freed from fear and comparison, opened her heart in ways she never had before. They were rarely apart. Even simple moments, sharing a towel after a swim, brushing sand off each other's skin, holding hands as they wandered through night markets, felt like small promises woven into the fabric of something lasting. Each night, she fell asleep in his arms. Each morning, she woke to his warm breath on her shoulder. A month passed in a tender blur. One quiet afternoon at their Ocean View hotel, Claire sat curled on the lounge chair, sipping jasmine tea as sunlight spilled across the balcony. The waves below glittered like scattered diamonds. She didn't hear Michael step into the room until his arm slid around her waist from behind. His chin rested gently on her shoulder. Claire, he murmured, voice warm against her ear. I have something to tell you. She set her teacup down. What is it? Emily married, he said softly. Turns out she was pregnant. The father is a trainee at the hotel she's been staying in. He paused, tightening his embrace. They had a small ceremony last week. Claire froze, not with anger, but with a quiet, complicated ache. Emily, who had mocked her, abandoned her, envied her, now stood at the edge of a completely different life. Not glamorous, not powerful, not the future she once chased, but real. I don't feel happy about it, Claire whispered. Just sad. For her. And maybe for how everything turned out. Michael kissed the side of her head. You don't have to understand it all. You just have to know you're here, with me. And that's all I've ever wanted. She turned, wrapping her arms around him, resting her forehead against his. The warmth of his chest, the steady rise and fall of his breath, anchored her like nothing else ever had. They stepped out onto the balcony together as the sun dipped lower, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson. The breeze carried the scent of salt and warmth. Michael held her close from behind, and Claire leaned fully into him. No secrets, no fears, just the two of them. As the last light melted into the horizon, they stood wrapped in each other, quiet, steady, certain. And the story of their love, once built on chaos and misunderstanding, finally settled into the peace they both deserved.